we know of is 65 centimeters.
Again, made of gold or
iron. Iron. All these dimensions, you can find everything in the book with weight, with dimension. When I mean dimension, it's not only length, the weight. You can reproduce it if you are a good smith, or if you can cast that. That's the idea behind my book as well. So everyone can use these materials to reproduce everything they wish. So all the pictures from all sides as well, that's the reason.
And I'm sorry, do you have any idea what was the size or the dimension of
the Greeks? Okay. Let me just explain something. Very good point. Thank you for asking this question. During Achaemenian period, please you should notice, swords were secondary weapons, not first, not primary.
No.
Yes. First of all, bows, and then spears.
Spears, right.
They were spear bearers. Achaemenians, were proud. Darius in his inscription says, "I'm the king of this dynasty. I'm the best in throwing a spear, fighting with spear. I'm the best with shooting with a bow and arrow." But he never says, "I'm the best in using the sword." Unfortunately, otherwise I would have known the name of the short sword in Persian.
Right.
That's the reason we don't know, actually. And they used these long spears, and they were very good at that. When they confronted the Greek, for those of you who would like to read about the Persian and Greek clashes back then, please read, there's the book, The Ancient Persia. I really recommend it to anyone who's interested in Iranian history, written by a German professor, Professor Wiesehofer. This book is translated into 25 languages by now. Really excellent research. He used lots of Iranian sources, not only Greek sources. This is, in military history, it is extremely important. You need to analyze both sides. If you do not, you are going to fall into a trap of propaganda. Because any military confrontation has propaganda, no matter from which side. So you have to read both sides to find out what is the truth in the middle, hopefully, actually, to put it this way. And this is, they used spears. And when Macedonian forces, we distinguish between Macedonian impact and Greek, as you know. Okay, let's stick to the Macedonians. When Macedonian and Greek forces attacked Iran, Achaemenian army also had Greek mercenaries. We had clashes between Greek-Persian army and Greek and Macedonian army. That was the cold clash. In many Western books, they depicted that was only a Macedonian and Greek army of Alexander the Great against the Achaemenians. Only, and these Achaemenians were only Persians. This is not true. I mention only one name, Memnon, a Greek who fought to death for Achaemenian dynasty. Because Alexander was a Macedonian for them. You should really not, this is extremely important. I'm not saying Alexander was bad or the Achaemenians were the best. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying this is extremely important. Coming back to that, Macedonians fought in phalanx, meaning if you fight in phalanx, there were hoplites. The hoplites had a shield, a hoplite shield, and a long spear. And let's say there were 20 men, 1/23 to 25. If I'm in the last row, I'm very strong. I have a long spear, and I have it here, 2.5. Let's put it that way. In front of me, the man has 2 meters and 40. In front of it, it just reduces. So we have this whole phalanx, and this phalanx moves. How do I move? I push with my shield to the man in front of me. He pushes into the man in front of him. He pushes into the man in front of him. So we have all these spearheads, and it moves in front. If you have this phalanx, and imagine all these spears, 40, 60, 80, 100, towards you, moving towards you, you want to stop it. How do you do that? Very hard. Achaemenians believed with shooting their bows, they could stop that. Achaemenians believed in the beginning they could stop it with different missiles they had. They could not. Then they had the Greek mercenaries, but then the phalanx, okay, they were different, they fought. The phalanx, or the Greek, fought with their swords, these Greek swords, makihara as they call it, it's a bit curved, only as a last resort. Only when the lines broke up, then they draw their swords. It means if a hoplite has his sword in his hand, it means we need to retreat, because they fought to retreat. not to go ahead. The same for Armours. No. Any, if you wish to know, I mean, after the presentation is over, or I can give you my email, if you wish to know about different confrontations between these, in order to understand arms and armor, you need to experience it in real. We did all this in real. For example, how the phalanx moves, we have experience on that, we did it. How they fought against the Romans, and later on when the Greek and Romans clashed. You can always make these experiences. You cannot only read that from books. If you want to read arms and armor, you need to see how it feels. You have it in your hand, the same as Japanese do. We will come back to that in case you're interested, please. If I go back to Parthian daggers and swords, this was especially tricky. There are lots of rock reliefs. Which depict the Parthian swords, Parthian daggers, but up to now, you cannot find in any books or in any articles archaeological examples of Parthian swords excavated scientifically. Here, for the first time, you see a Parthian sword. This is iron, double-edged, and a long sword. There are only 4 Parthian swords in the world, which are kept in the National Museum of Iran in Tehran, and 5 Parthian daggers. That's it, up to now. The Parthians used long swords. For the Parthians, they also, as you know, Parthians, the Parthian dynasty, we're moving here, we're moving here, yes. 247 BC to 228 Anno Domini. For them, for the Parthians, they used their swords not also in combat. Parthians did not have infantry for the most part. They had only cavalry, light cavalry and heavy cavalry. The light cavalry, they used bows, and then the heavy cavalry used these kind of swords, and also very heavy spears. The Sasanian elite cavalry, the silent legacy of Iran.
Parthians crushed Roman army. They just destroyed the Roman army 3 times. I mention only one name, Crassus, Mark Antony, or everyone who has rank and name. The Roman armies were crushed. Only at the end of the Parthian era, where they were fighting with the Sasanians, the Romans had one victory. How did they fight? The Parthians, the bows, we're also going to explain the functions of the bows. They used light cavalry. The Romans who came, Romans did not have phalanx as the Greek did. Romans, in order to defeat the Greek, they found out you need to have a moving line. What it means, a Roman has a scutum, which is his shield. A Roman has his pilum, 2 of them, which is his javelin. And a Roman has gladius hispaniensis, sword, a short sword, which is here. And when they have their shield here, they stab. A Roman soldier was not allowed to hack. If you, we don't do it fortunately anymore, but put it this way, in a human instinct is, if you have a sword in your hand, you try to hack. Imagine you have a sword in your hand and a tiger enters this room, and we forget how peaceful we all are and we want to defend ourselves. A tiger runs all over the place and we are very peaceful, we try to talk to this tiger. But this tiger unfortunately does not understand, excuse me my example, and you use this sword. And you know what you do? You don't stab the tiger. You try to hack the tiger. Automatically, it's programmed here. The Romans said every Roman who enters the legion, wants to be a legionary, does only one thing. Gets a scutum, stab forward, stab. Stab forward, stab. 4 hours a day. That's your military training. Very boring. Imagine you have a scutum and you do only this. They did it for months and months. Why? Because then they build the lines, scutums next to each other, and then imagine something, all of a sudden, all the gladius hispaniensis, the Spanish sword as they call it, comes in and out, in and out, in and out. That's the way, and then they just cover themselves and they in and out. That's the way they destroyed everyone. So the Parthians had very good, and the Romans had one thing else. They had their pilum. They come, they didn't try, okay, if you are there, you have a shield, where should I hit you? No, they didn't care. They threw the pilum with all their force at you. No matter where they hit, even if you're shield. I bring my shield up, the pilum comes into my shield, injures me slightly, no problem. I'm a tough fighter, I can fight. I have my armor as well. It is here. You know what the problem is? I have a big pilum. I have a big pilum in my shield. Do you think I can fight with this pilum? No. So what do? I throw my shield. And what do I get? The first stab from legionaries. That's they always did it. So the Parthians had a very good method against them. They had only horse archers. So they threw the pilums, the horse archers escaped, and they shot at them. The Parthians shot. They closed, then they pilum again, horse archers. You have only 2 pilums per legionary. What do you want to do? You know what Parthians did? They had 100 arrows, each one of them. And then they had these circling lines, and they had camels at the end, full of arrows. They went and brought back again arrows. So legionaries were going, and they turned into, they hedgehogs, but at the end of the day, when they were weak, they were crushed by the heavy cavalry of the Parthians. That's what each legionary who was found after each battle with the Parthians had 200 shots, arrow shots, 200. So, okay, we don't want to talk about it. Let's go back to these last things. Okay, excuse me for this. Okay, let's go back to the excavated double-edged sword from the National Museum of Iran. Okay, these are 3 examples of Parthian daggers. You see, these are also double-edged. They're also double-edged and iron, made of iron. Okay. Any questions regarding Parthian swords and daggers? They used, by the way, 2 daggers, and these daggers they had 1 dagger here and 1 dagger here, and they carried their daggers here, and the swords in front of the body, with a system which is called scabbard slide system. I will explain it to you later, Ms. Hassani. So the sword was here. When you're riding in a horse, the sword comes here, but it was in the middle, and 2 daggers here. You know where you can find these daggers? This is this example of this prince, Parthian prince, black one from Shami. Every Iranian, I'm sure you have seen that. This black prince, you can see the pictures in my book as well. He has 2 daggers, 1 here, 1 here. So all of them had 2 daggers. You know why they had their daggers here? Because they are horse riders. If you ride, you sit like